Corporal Callum Briggs did not arrive at forward operating base. 2 in quantum, the way soldiers usually did. There was no convoy grinding through the mud, no cluster of officers waiting with clipboards, no official welcome or briefing. He simply appeared. A single helicopter cut through the humid Vietnamese sky late one afternoon, its rotors slicing the air just long enough to draw a few distracted glances. It touched down briefly beyond the perimeter wire, kicked up a storm of dust and leaves, and lifted off again before anyone could ask questions. When the noise faded, one man remained behind, tall, lean, silent, carrying a compact pack, a rifle slung effortlessly across his chest, and moving with a calm, economical stride that suggested years of practiced restraint. This was Corporal Callum Briggs officially. He was on loan from the Australian Special Air Service Regiment unofficially. No one knew why he was there. Captain Hayes, commander of RT Florida, stared at the thin authorization memo handed down from headquarters. It was barely more than a formality, no mission parameters, no explanation, no end date. Just a quiet approval for the temporary attachment of a long-range reconnaissance specialist from a foreign special forces unit. Quote, 1. Sergeant First Class Rodriguez muttered, squinting at the paper. That's it. What is this, sir? Some kind of foreign exchange program? Hayes didn't answer. He was watching Briggs, the Australian, move through the camp without hesitation, without curiosity, without wasting a single step. His eyes, cold, focused the color of stormwater off the Tasman coast, swept the base without lingering. He absorbed everything without reacting to anything. He never smiled. The most noticeable item on him wasn't his rifle or his radio or even his pack. It was the knife, a Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife, polished smooth by years of use, worn high across his chest. Not hidden, not ceremonial. It was positioned like a statement. RT Florida didn't. Like him, they were seasoned SOG operators, loud, aggressive, confident men who believed in overwhelming force, rapid movement, and controlled chaos. They survived by being faster, louder, and meaner than the enemy. Briggs was none of those things. He skipped the usual post-mission jokes, didn't share rations, didn't tell stories, answered questions with clipped, minimal replies. How many tours? Lieutenant Davies asked one night. 3. Briggs said without looking up from his rifle. Davies smirked. That's 4, nothing Morito. The Americans. His silence felt like arrogance. His distance felt deliberate. He moved around the base like he didn't need anyone, and worse, like he didn't notice them. But slowly small things began to stand out. They noticed Briggs checking perimeter tripwires without looking, kneeling, pressing his fingers into the soil, feeling vibrations through the ground. They noticed how he could sit completely motionless for hours, breath so shallow it barely moved his chest. They noticed how he vanished into the jungle and reappeared exactly where he was needed without ever being called captain. Hayes felt his initial suspicion turn into something heavier. Realization Briggs wasn't special forces in the American sense. He was something older, a tracker, a hunter, a man who had mastered survival in places where mistakes meant death. That Aussie isn't here by accident, Hayes told Rodriguez quietly one night. We've been fighting loud. He's the silence. Operation Anightile. The first mission with Briggs was supposed to be simple, a routine reconnaissance insertion along the Laotian border. Confirm the presence of a PAVN logistics depot. 6 men in, 6 men out. Briggs was placed on point 3. Hours in. The team had covered barely a kilometer. Rodriguez was furious. We're crawling, he hissed over the radio. We need to move. Wait, Briggs whispered. Seconds later, the jungle erupted. Not a sloppy ambush, but a perfect Onique 4-7. Fire ripped through the trees from overlapping angles. Mortar rounds slammed into the canopy, sending debris and shrapnel raining down. Grenades followed. Then came the sound that froze every man in place, the mechanical click-hiss of Claymore mines. Arming, they had walked straight into a kill zone. Hayes shouted orders, scrambling for cover, but panic was spreading. The mines were seconds from detonating. Then Briggs moved. He dropped his rifle and ran toward the danger. Ignoring tracer fire, he slid under the tripwires, pulled his webbing belt free, and tied the wires off to a tree root, disarming the pressure without triggering the charge. As enemy patrols closed in, Briggs grabbed a discarded M79 grenade launcher and fired wide far left. Loud, misleading. Now, that was the first command he ever gave. He led them not back, not forward, but into a mangrove swamp so foul and waterlogged that no map listed it as passable. Belly-deep mud leeches, suffocating silence. 45 minutes later they emerged unseen, alive. Rodriguez stared at Briggs, shaking. Briggs wiped mud from his knife. School of SILENC. From that day on, everything changed. Briggs never held formal classes. He taught by example. He showed them how dew patterns on leaves revealed movement, how soil compression told time, how air temperature shifted along used trails. He taught them how to breathe so shallowly they could vanish into the undergrowth. You don't need to be quiet, he said once. You need to not exist. The turning point came with the VC camp. Briggs went in alone too. Hours later, he returned and placed a hand-drawn supply map and a brass perimeter bell on the ground. They won't hear it now. No shots fired. No alarms raised. The team understood they were no longer equals. They were students. 36 years deep inside Laos. Everything went wrong. McIntyre went down, ankles shattered, enemy trackers everywhere. No air support, no rescue. Hayes faced an impossible choice. I'll get him, Briggs said alone. For 36 hours, Briggs hunted the hunters, neutralized patrols without sound, dragged McIntyre through jungle and mud, avoided every trail. He walked into the extraction zone exactly on time. Alive, he placed his knife and brass knuckles on the ground. No explanation. Shadow Team Florida transformed. Movement slowed. Noise vanished. Gear lightened. They became ghosts. They became the Shadow Team. Then the recall order came. Australia wanted Briggs back. Hayes offered him a way to disappear forever. Briggs refused. Without refusing, one rainy night, he packed his kit and walked out the gate. No goodbyes, no trace. Marcos crashed into the bunker wall with a bullet tip. Hayes found Briggs's final lesson. If they can hear you, you're already dead. Briggs was gone, but the silence remained.